Hello, dear friend, and welcome. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson, and I am the owner and founder of the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. For over 7 years, we have been honored to bring you messages that inspire, uplift, and support your spiritual journey. These programs are made with love and made possible by you and your generosity. That's why over the next 90 days, we are aiming to raise $9,000 to carry this channel forward into the new year. Every gift, large or small, helps us continue producing, sharing, and reaching souls all around our world. So I invite you today to give as you are able, knowing that your support keeps these messages coming and available to all. Thank you for walking the journey with us, dear friend. Together, we are making a difference. We are so grateful. Blessings on the journey, my dear friends. This question, why does God allow suffering, is probably as old as humanity itself. So the better question might be, why do we allow suffering? Hello and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I am the host. I'm also the owner and founder of the channel. And my friends, we're so glad to have you along the journey with us. And I'm here today in the studio. I love the new studio. I'm here today with my producer, Mr. Sean Kilgore.
Hello. Wish I could be there with you. I'm here in my home studio. Yes. But I'm with you in spirit, 100%.
That's why you look different. Yeah.
Hey, friends, welcome in. This is episode 417 of Experience of the Soul. Why does God allow suffering? This is going to be a significant episode, I feel, just by the title alone.
Yeah.
So once again, my name is Sean. Before we jump into today's conversation, we're going to take a quick look at what's happening this week in spiritual history and otherwise. So first up, this Sunday, June 21st, is Father's Day. That's here in the United States and in many countries around the world. So for some people, so obviously a joyful celebration. For others, it can be complicated. It can be emotional, or it can be very reflective if you're missing your father. But at its core, the day is really meant to honor the people who've guided us, protected us, encouraged us, or simply showed up for us along the way. And sometimes, those father figures, they're not biological. Sometimes they're mentors, teachers, grandparents, friends, or spiritual leaders. So however this day meets you, we hold space for all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was so glad you mentioned that. And I know, Sean, I love your dad, and it seems like you guys are pretty close and have a good relationship. And, my dad's been passed. I mean, he died when after my first year in college in 1988. That's how long he's been passed. But still, I think of him every day, So, yeah, those dad relationships can be complicated. I know I miss mine. I know you love yours, and happy to hold space for, like you say, wherever we are. I know stories of, people who've had no contact with their dads, but yet have people that love and support them. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, nice. Saturday, June 20th, this Saturday is World Refugee Day. So this was established by the United Nations to recognize refugees around the world, people who have had to leave their homes because of war, violence, persecution, or just crisis. It's observed globally with communities and organizations holding events to raise awareness and support displaced families. So beyond all of the politics and all of the headlines, it really comes down to human beings trying to rebuild their lives.
Yes.
And that's, I think, something definitely worth remembering.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah. I think right now everything is so polarized in the U.S. that we forget the many things going on in the rest of the world, and to open our hearts to that level of compassion, I think, is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Sunday also finds us having International Yoga Day. So yoga has its roots in ancient spiritual traditions, of course, from India, but is now practiced all over the world. I mean, so the day was officially recognized by the United Nations in 2014 and is often marked with community classes, meditation events, and wellness gatherings. And I think that kind of resonates with people. The thing that resonates with people is that yoga kind of invites us back into awareness without you may not be a spiritual person or identify, in that way, but you might practice yoga. So you are actually practicing, right? Spirituality without even really realizing it. But yeah, it brings you back to awareness, breath, balance, stillness, presence, things that we definitely tend to lose track of when life gets loud, which life is right now.
Which is like right now. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that because that was an important thought. Yeah. But there is a comedian, and Sean, I want to find the link to put it in the show notes because she's from India and she is hilarious.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yes, I love
yoga.
her.
Have you heard her? She says that Americans have turned yoga into a blood sport. She goes, we just used to hang around the house and do it in our pajamas, and now there's hot yoga and all this stuff. So
goat yoga.
Goat yoga. Well, it's hilarious to me that in Florida we do hot yoga. I mean, just walk outside and do yoga.
Yeah, just do it outside.
I did a free class recently. There was one very near the studio, actually, and it was just, a fun like holiday weekend thing. The last holiday we had, and it was like, hey, come try it out. And I was like, oh my gosh, there are heaters in here. I was really, I did it. I did the hour, but I thought, okay, this is not for me in Florida, but yoga is beautiful practice. We did it at our house before yoga was cool. So there you go.
Yeah. I love it. I actually do Qigong. Have you ever done Qigong? I enjoy that. I love
Tai Chi, Qigong, all those practices. Yeah. And they're all, like you say, they're all energetically based. They all have a spiritual component for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Also happening Sunday. Sunday is a big day this week, is the summer solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, the longest day of the year.
Right.
So cultures and spiritual traditions have marked the solstice for centuries as a seasonal turning point. So some celebrate with festivals and gatherings, while others observe it more quietly as a reminder of nature's rhythms and cycles. So honestly, there's definitely something comforting about that, remembering that life moves in seasons, and we do too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And just for fun this week, this Friday, June 19th, is Juneteenth, of course, obviously, but it is also World Sauntering Day. So I kind of love this one because the whole point is basically to stop rushing everywhere.
Right.
And what's interesting about this is that it started in the late 70s. When you if you think about the late 70s, you don't think that people were in the rushing lifestyle, certainly not the way we are today. But this is when this started, was in the late 70s, as a playful response to how hurried life had become in the 70s.
In the 70s. We didn't know what hurried was compared to today's world. Oh my God.
Right.
Today I went to get coffee right before the show, to record, and I was doing a little inner work. And then I thought, well, I'm going to prepare the show notes. A woman walks in, she's on a meeting, sitting at the coffee bar, talking to them about her coffee, then carrying the meeting out with all this coffee. And I thought, this is what we have. This is life now. This is not unusual. Yeah. Like nobody in the store was bothered at all that she was on a meeting for work and carrying all these coffees out. I was just, wow. I was like, hysterical. Oh, poor thing. I'm going to pray for that girl to get she's got a lot going on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the idea is, if you can remember, friends, on Friday, just saunter through the day instead of trying to sprint through it. So that feels pretty wise right now in today's day and age.
I totally agree. Yeah.
All right, friends, your journal prompt for this week. Where in your life could you slow down enough to become more present to the people and to the moments right in front of you?
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, it's a great journal prompt. And, the show today was really to answer a question that seems to be on a lot of people's mind. And I know, Sean, you didn't mention that, but we have been addressing a lot of questions that are not only questions of our listeners, but maybe people who've never heard our type of perspective on these questions. It's gotten some interesting comments on Facebook lately.
Yes.
I've seen a couple from Unity of Daytona Beach where, it's interesting because the over righteousness of people on the internet is really amazing.
So true.
It's really, really
it's
true.
That keyboard courage.
Keyboard courage, exactly. And so much of the way I teach the Bible and spirituality is from a more Eastern way of looking at God. And it's through many, many years of my own study of the scriptures. And if you're, if you grow up in a very traditional way of looking at the Bible, some of the things I'm going to say will shock you. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the fact that if you read the Bible literally, that you're not going to understand some of the things I say because you're not our audience. So I bless you on your journey. I have been there myself, and it is a journey in consciousness. So I just want to lift up for anyone listening that we are seeking to bring you these spiritual teachings from a high expansive awareness of God, that we seek to not put God in a little box. We don't put God up on a throne in the sky. But for us, God is as near as our very breath. As the book of Genesis says, God breathed into man's nostrils, humanity's nostrils, the breath of life. And so this is what we practice. This is what we teach, and this is what we believe. So I also have been chuckling at the over righteousness, because in the Bible, Jesus, the only thing Jesus spoke out against, in fact, were the over righteous religious followers and religious leaders. Jesus did not speak out against the poor. He did not speak out against women. He did not speak out against differences. As a matter of fact, he unfolded all of that and really changed the way society viewed so much of that. The story of the Good Samaritan is a great example of that. So I just wanted to say, my friends, we welcome you to the show. And if you're new to the show, and depending on your religious upbringing, you might need to open your mind a little bit to some of the ideas, to some of the ways we look at God. And I also honor, if our teaching is not a fit for you, then you move on and continue your journey, because we do not want to hold you here. We do not want to force feed you spirituality. We have the opposite thing in mind, which is that we bring you a teaching that is freeing. We bring you a teaching that is expansive, and what we believe is the nature of God. So we love you. We bless you on the journey. Enough said there. But this question of why does God allow suffering? I think at one time or another, we've all thought this. I think at one time or another, we've heard friends and families say this, and probably this question, why does God allow suffering, is probably as old as humanity itself, because we cannot understand, if God is all powerful, all knowing, all present as a being, why in the world would he allow suffering? And, I've had people ask me in spiritual counseling, why doesn't God save me? And so we have this view of God at times that's very, very limiting. It's why I wanted to bring it up at the very beginning. We sometimes view God as a Santa Claus, where if we do things right, we get a present. If we do things wrong, God's going to send down a lightning bolt to destroy us or curse us. We have the idea that that God is a kind of puppeteer controlling everything from the clouds. And in fact, the way we understand and know God, and I'll just even speak from the personal, is I know God as a presence, not as a man in the sky. For me, God is a presence. And so why does God allow suffering is a question to try to understand. How do we experience our humanity? How do we experience God and make sense of suffering around us? Like, why doesn't God help? Well, if your view of God is that God is up in the sky on a throne controlling us, and I want to say that some churches teach what's called predestination, meaning some are predestined to be saved and some are not. And so we have this view of God sitting up on a throne, kind of controlling us as a puppeteer with his hand. He moves here and we go here, and we moves his hand, we go there. And our view of God is as a presence, it as a beingness itself. And we, believe it or not, get this right from the scriptures. When Moses saw the flame that was a bush that was being burned but not consumed, that's called Moses and the burning bush, in the Bible, book of Exodus. Moses says, "Who do I say sent me?" And God says, "I am that I am." And we know that translated, that actually means I am beingness itself. He did not say, it is not quoted in the Bible as saying, it's not attributed to God as saying, "I am a single man up on the throne with a long gray beard and a big gold G around my neck." He did not say that. Moses heard, "I am that I am. I am that I am." And that translates. You can look this up yourself, my friends, you Bible scholars that love to check translations. Look, it means I am beingness itself. I am beingness itself. So when we are picturing God, though, as a man controlling us up in the sky, when we think, well, some are in, some are out, and I've been predestined, either I'm saved or I'm not, then we really limit our view of God, and we also limit the personal responsibility we have to bring God's presence in and through the world. I think this needs to be repeated. If I picture God up on a throne as a single man in the sky controlling us, it severely limits God, and it certainly limits us and our personal responsibility to bring the presence of God in and through the world. So when we look out on our world today, the racial injustice, the abuse and mistreatment of children, of the elderly, of people of different faiths, even people of different cultures and races, we can say, why does God not stop this? But if God could and didn't, I feel like that would be, if God was sitting up there, pointing down, I think that would be abusive. And this is why I think that idea of God is a false way of looking at God. It is a very limited way of looking at God. And yet so many of us come through that stage of awareness because that's what Hollywood has given us as a picture of God. We see it in the movies. We see these ideas of God depicted this way, throughout time, throughout history. And so it's hard to pull away our awareness and go to our own personal journey with God and realize that God is not on a throne in a chair. God is beingness itself. And when we can have a working and shared awareness of this as a culture, well, that's when suffering will begin to cease. So the better question might be, why do we allow suffering? Why do we allow suffering? My friends, we have been given what is called free will. Every day we get up in the morning, we have a decision to make. How am I going to walk through the world? How am I going to walk through the world today? Am I going to be a blessing, or am I going to be a pain for everyone around me? Am I going to bring suffering through my attitudes? Am I going to be bringing suffering through my lack of personal and emotional awareness and regulation of my emotions? So really, in terms of suffering in the world, the onus is on us to take personal responsibility for ourselves, for our lives, for our emotions, and realize that we are the ones that are creating the environment in which we live. So I want you to just be affirmed, and that you are not being controlled or puppeted or manipulated by God. Every day you have the gift of free will every single day. Every single day, you have the gift of free will to make a good decision about your life and world. How do I want to walk through the world? Am I doing my spiritual and emotional work? Am I taking responsibility for my emotions and learning new ways to channel those emotions so they don't bleed out on everybody around me? Right? I often in counseling call that coming out sideways. Sometimes when we don't deal with our emotions, they come out sideways at somebody we know and love because, well, we don't know what else to do with it. So think about this, my friends. Are you using the gift of free will as you go throughout your day in any given day? Because you have the free will to choose how you will act, how you will behave, and where you put your attention in terms of your spirituality and emotional health. I believe that God is everywhere available as a presence. I believe God is light and illumination itself. I believe that God is within every aspect of your being. I believe it is in the presence of God is in every cell of your body. It's every breath that you take, that you are literally filled and surrounded with the presence of God all day, every day. And so this presence isn't controlling us. It is everywhere available to us. And so I want you to think about if I am viewing God as some puppeteer in the sky, or if I'm viewing God as an awareness of where I am and where I live and how I walk through the world, then that starts to change how much responsibility we take for our spiritual journey and what I often call your individual soul journey. That in fact, you have the power to change your life for the better. You have the power to change the world for the better by how you choose to walk through the world. And so, I myself in my journey have a very hard time seeing anyone suffer. And I've dedicated so much of my life to not only trying to heal myself and any emotional baggage or trauma that I carry. And as many of you know, I've been doing this for so long. It's also what I teach and what I seek to live. And I do this because I believe that if we knew God was everywhere available, if we knew God loved us and wanted what was best for us, then we would seek to live a spiritual life full of love, full of peace, full of joy, full of forgiveness, and free of blame, harsh judgments of others, and condemning people out in the world. That those kind of behaviors of calling people out, the way we see on the internet these days, that those kinds of behaviors would cease, because we know every time we put out an action like that, we are inviting this energy back upon us. Yeah. So think about that, my friends. And so this idea of whatever energy I put out is what I get back is an ancient idea. It's found in our own Bible. It's found in the teachings of the East. And what is that law? Well, it is called the law of karma. Some call it the law of circulation. It's called often the law of cause and effect. But what it really says is that every action I make has a specific and real vibrational reality that goes out from me and has an impact, certainly. But then whatever energy I put out comes back. And that word karma, I want to just explain to you, simply means action. And so anytime we make an action, we are asking for that energy to come back to us. I mentioned earlier in the show that I've had some interesting comments lately, people that claim to know the Bible and interpret the Bible perfectly. If you're not sure, just ask them. But we don't respond to those kinds of comments negatively, because I don't want to engage that kind of energy and that kind of karmic connection with someone, because I can see from just this teaching today that I'm talking about how we view God. If I try to prove them wrong, I'm lowering myself to this level where if I need to make you understand me to be okay with myself, I need to respond to you in anger so I feel okay. Well, I can tell you, no matter what anybody says online, I'm okay, because my worth comes from God. My worth comes from my connection with God. And I know God to be a presence. I know God to be a power. I know God to be the very essence of who I am. And so if you view God differently than that, I'm okay with it. I'm going to bless you in it. And I'm going to hope that one day your journey brings you to more peace and love, because that's what I believe is the nature of God. But my friend, I love you. I bless you on the journey. I don't want to create karma with you. I don't want to react in anger towards you. I simply disagree, but I wish you well on the journey. So I wanted to bring up this topic of karma, especially as it relates to suffering, because my friends, so much of what we do creates our very own suffering, not only us individually, but to others in the world. Now you might say, well, I don't harm people. I don't abuse people. And I'm sure that's true. But when we are demeaning others, when we are using anger as a weapon, when we use spirituality as a weapon, believe it or not, that is a type of emotional and spiritual abuse. So it keeps that energy alive. So if we want, my friends, to stop suffering in the world, we ourselves must learn that God doesn't allow suffering, that God is awaiting us to stop hurting each other, that we have been given the gift of free will, that we have been given the gift of knowing that what we do comes back to us. And my friends, it does not take long to figure out that out in the world. We haven't figured it out emotionally yet in our culture today, which is why you see what you see on the internet. When I see those types of behaviors of all that, you're right, I'm wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, and all those kinds of things. This is someone caught in the level of the emotion, the higher awareness, this higher understanding of God is that God is everywhere present. God is not controlling me. God has given me free will. God has given me the ability to choose, and that God needs us in the world to bring his or its or hers power into this situation. That God is the very sun, moon, and stars. God is the universe itself. God is bigger than anything we can imagine. And God is certainly bigger than a man sitting on a throne in the sky with puppet strings. So, my friends, the hard answer is suffering exists, not because God allows it, but because we do. The responsibility is on us to heal, to grow, and to mature in spiritual consciousness. Our soul work is to become healed, to do the emotional work of the soul, to forgive, to release, to let go, to have faith and courage to move forward on the journey and do amazing things. But we do that through our awareness of God as a being, as an essence, realizing that we are never separate from God, acknowledging God's amazing presence and power, that God is all-knowing, God is omniscient, God is all-powerful, omnipotent, God is all-present, and God needs us to bring that energy and that power into the world. So I was thinking about this, and I simply wanted to mention there's a really old film, and Sean, I know I put a little note for you in the show notes. It's a really old film. called Oh God. And it had George Burns, who was a very famous actor of his day, and John Denver, an actor and singer. And in the movie, John Denver plays this, man who meets God, and George Burns is God. And in the movie, John Denver playing this, man, like, why doesn't God do anything about all the suffering? And George Burns, as God, says, I created the big picture. The details are up to you. So, my friends, even though it's a movie, and even though it sounds like a flippant answer, it is not at all. I believe that God gave us all of the power, all of the energy that we need to heal our lives and to heal the suffering in the world. I think God is awaiting us to be empowered and to co-create a life and a world where there is no suffering. I believe we're called to it, and I believe it is possible. But it will require us to do deep, deep soul work. It will require us to heal on levels we might not have even known about 6 months or a year ago. But as you seek God's guidance, as you seek healing in your life and world, the very presence of God will be there for you. The right resources will show up for you, and you will be able to do your very own healing and then take that healing energy out into the world as you live your divine calling and purpose. So, my friends, we thank you for listening. Our hope for you is that you do this deeper work. We love you. We bless you in it, and we honor you for listening. Thank you so much for your financial support. It keeps us on the air and helps us be able to pay to be in this studio to bring you a beautiful show with amazing sound and a good vibe. And know that we lift you in the light for healing always, praying for God's highest and best in your life. So, my friends, thank you for joining us today, and blessings on the journey.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Experience of the Soul with Cynthia Alice Anderson. If this message resonated with you, we invite you to share it with someone who might need it today. This show is made possible by listeners like you, and we're grateful for the community that helps keep these conversations available to all. You can learn more or contribute to the show at cynthiaaliceanderson.com/donate. Produced by Kilgore Creative and a production of the Soulworks Group Incorporated. Until next time, take good care.